Welcome into the AL Recruiting Power 5 podcast, where we ask all of our guests 5 questions and we get answers to understand the recruiting process. And today our guest is Coach Aaron Terry. He is the defensive line coach and the recruiting coordinator at Iowa Western Community College. Coach, so glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, we're just going to dive right into it. Coach, tell us a little bit about yourself and how'd you get into coaching?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Omaha. Family's big football family up here in the Midwest. My grandpa actually started one of the first youth little leagues in Omaha metro area, and back in the '60s. And so growing up, I played for an uncle, dad, stepdad. Throughout my whole really career, and then into going into college, my uncle was the defensive coordinator at Northwest Missouri State, and I also had another uncle that was GA at the time when I got down there. So it's been kind of in the blood, So obviously playing for them and growing up just around football. Once I was done playing, I felt that there was a calling for me to give back and still be around football, and then obviously put my own input on it and try to help guys use the game of football to help them in life.
Awesome. Now you are our first JUCO guest. And so kind of what I would like to get into with you, especially in the next 2 questions, is that junior college recruiting process. I don't really know sometimes some of the answers that kids or our parents may have when they ask me. I was actually having dinner last night with a guy, and we were just talking about it. Like, I don't know that. I've got a guy coming on tomorrow, so I'm going to ask that. So what is that JUCO recruiting process like for you as a staff and you kind of leading that?
Yeah, and we recruit. There's two types of players we recruit, and a lot of times I think when you hear junior college, you think of last chance you, and a lot of that's kind of the model we've gotten. But at the end of the day, we run everything like a 4-year program, and obviously we're going to recruit the non-qualifier kids, the ones that don't have the academics to maybe go right away to the 4-year. But we recruit a lot of full qualifier kids as well that are maybe wanting to bet on themselves to play at a higher level. Maybe they're getting recruited by FCS, D2, NAIA programs, and they're like, I feel like I can play higher, and then focusing on developing on the next 18 to 24 months and kind of seeing where it takes you. You know what I mean? And we've had a lot of success with that model. I think we're just the state of Iowa, there's about 80 guys that were kind of in that boat that have came to Iowa Western and helped them get themselves Division I offer, and I think we're over 300 total. Kids in 14 football seasons go sign Division I scholarships after coming to Iowa Western.
Okay, so when you guys are kind of putting that recruiting plan down, there's the academic qualifiers or guys that aren't going to qualify academically, yep. And then kind of the other kids that are looking to say, hey, maybe I want to go this route. I'm not feeling any love from a group of 5 or Power 5 program. And so is that something that it would help if a recruit would reach out to you as a program and say that this is something I'm interested in? Or
yeah, it kind of goes both ways. Obviously I think with us in the Midwest, you look at the FCS programs in this area, they're all top quality, contending for championships year in with the South Dakota States, North Dakota States. And then, even Division IIs, you got the Northwest Missouri States, Pitt States, Mankato, Ferris. So there's a lot of really good football programs, and even NAIA. We had Morningside, Grandview, and Northwestern that have all have won or competed for national championships in all their divisions, and we try to get those kids in a sense of they do a really good job of developing the kids that maybe aren't the 3 or 4-star guy, but they come in, they work, they end up developing and being a big time player, and we try to recruit those type of kids that and sell them the opportunity to come in, grow, develop, and see that if they can play at a higher level, which our track record has done that, and with now the new rules that they've kind of went with the portal and the qualifications at the Division I level, it's the top end JUCO players. You're not really going to get them from the academic side of it anymore, just because the FBS schools are getting those top end dudes that used to have to go JUCO. They're getting them qualified now just because there's no ACT score qualifications really anymore, and it's like a 2-3 core GPA, which I think is pretty easy for those guys to with the summer classes they can take to get those guys qualified. So our motto of how we started this program is kind of, it's really worked right into our favor with kind of the portal and the qualifications and all that stuff now.
Okay. So kind of our third question is this. What student, if I'm a kid sitting at home listening to this podcast, or parents, what student should consider junior college?
I think all of them, and at the end of the day, I tell the kids that come on our campus all the time is you have to know what you want out of the recruiting process. And then as you get into your senior season and start getting into the end of it to the December when colleges are starting to come out and recruit, you have to determine on what you want out of the recruiting process. If your goal is to play at a higher level and you're not getting that type of recruitment, then that's when you consider junior college football, because that's what we've been able to do for years is help guys grow and develop. And I always say, you're a lot better as a senior than you were as a sophomore for a lot of those kids. So just thinking about now 2 more years down the road where you're just focusing on football, you're in a college weight program, you're training year round for football, and just the development you're going to get, at that level, especially if you're undersized, maybe you're 245 pounds. Well, in 2 years, you may be up to 285, 290, and give yourself the size that you need to play at that level. When you come to Iowa Western, we're going to have every school in the country recruiting our guys, and it's an avenue to help them get a little bit more exposure too, to where, I think there's 4 D linemen from the state of Iowa that I've coached in the last couple of years that have went down. One just finished up at Houston, and other ones at UTEP. And then we had one go down to Auburn this year as well. But those guys out of high school, there's no way those schools are going to be coming up here and recruiting high school kids from that standpoint. You know what I mean? So it kind of helps give kids more exposure in the sense, if you're not satisfied where you're at or the schools that are recruiting you at that point, give yourself another year or two to develop and see what happens.
So instead of using the prep avenue, they're going ahead and getting college credits, because at the end of the day, it's about getting a degree.
Yep.
And so instead of, pushing it off, college off for a year, the JUCO seems to me say, hey, you can come and develop, you can get college credit, you can get everything that transfers, and you're not waiting an extra year to get a degree. Plus you're going to, at a place like where you are, you're going to get looks nationally instead of being a regional kid.
Oh, absolutely. And that's part of it too, is where, full qualifiers don't have to graduate from Iowa Western to move on. So the good part about that is sometimes the kids are here for a year. We actually had a kid down from Columbus, Georgia this year, full qualifier, really good football player. He's 6'3", 210 pounds. We ended up redshirting him this year just because of some of the depth we had. This spring, he had a handful of offers, ended up signing with Florida State, and he never even took a snap from us here. You know what I mean? So he played, or he was here for 1 year, redshirted, and he ended up getting, a scholarship to Florida State, and he's got 4 years eligibility left. You know what I mean? So and we've had a lot of those scenarios where guys played 1 year, guys redshirted and didn't play and ended up getting an offer. And that's what it's about. And that's the one thing I think as a junior college, we hang our hat on. We're in this business to try to help kids get better opportunities, better offers, or even financial standpoint, where you get a $5,000 scholarship and it's $30,000 to go there, you're still paying $25,000 out of pocket. So it's a lot more affordable to come to Iowa Western initially. And a lot of times that same school that gave you that $5,000 scholarship is going to give you more towards the 85 to most of the time 100% scholarship once you leave Iowa Western, because you're growing and you're doing your development here. So now they're expecting to come in and play right away. So financially, it's a big selling point too for us, is when we're telling you guys, hey, you can get a better scholarship coming out of here than maybe where you're at right now in high school.
Yeah, just because you say you got to offer, all offers or all scholarship
exactly.
offers are not the same.
Division One's full qualify, or is full scholarships. To where FCS, D2, NAI, those are all partial scholarships. You know what I mean? So, it could be a $10,000 scholarship, and some of those schools it's $50,000 to go there. So it's
right.
It's still a big out of pocket cost that you got to pay. And for us with housing and tuition and meal plans, we're around $12,000 a year before we even talk any scholarships. You know what I mean? So with everything included, I mean you can't beat the price, and then obviously the benefits. We have a $10 million football facility, indoor practice facility, state-of-the-art weight room. We have, D1 facilities essentially at the junior college level. We're located in the Omaha metro area of the metro.
Yeah. And so tell me just a little more now about your program. Did y'all won the national championship last year? Is
Yep,
that correct?
yep. We won it this year. We got beat in it last year. We're only 14 seasons old as a football program, and we played in 4 of the last 10 national championships. And our head coach started the program back in 2008, and we've had a lot of success. We finished in the top 5, 10 out of those 14 years. You know what I mean? So we're year in, year out, always up there, and really good structure and great support from our administration. And obviously you get on our campus, we're not your typical community college. We got a really nice, everything's new, and we got apartment style living. We got meal plans. We got a lot of stuff to offer for our kids. So it kind of helps them grow and develop and give them the resources they need to have success.
Well, I think to me, one of the things that stands out is that in a public podcast that's going to be released to
Yeah.
anybody can listen, you told a story about a guy who never played a snap, used the program to redshirt, and and went to Florida State on a scholarship. That
Yep.
just speaks volumes of really what you guys are in it for. You're winning, but you're also really in it for the kid too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And that's what this I think college football is all about, is helping young kids grow and develop, not only being good football players, but growing them into being good people. And so when they're done playing, they can use the tools we've taught from the game of football and use that in the game of life.
Absolutely. And speaking of the game of life, and one of the things that stands out to me is when you followed me, and just full transparency, Coach Terry just followed me a few days ago. And I'm one of those guys, like, I'm not afraid to ask anybody to be on the podcast at any level. So if you're listening, you want to be on, shoot me a direct message. But because you're a JUCO guy, I wanted you, but because it said you're a follower of Christ, I wanted you
Yep.
on here. And so just share how your faith in Christ affects your daily life, affects how you coach, and how do you use that in everything you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And growing up, I wasn't really involved in the church or knew much about it. And really, when I went off to college, um, living, trying to be your own, make your own decisions and do that type of stuff was hard. You know what I mean? And then I ended up, finding Jesus, and it really helps with the daily life of, focusing on him and living the way that he wants us to live. And and obviously in times of bad situations, it gives you hope and faith to continue to work forward and push forward with some faith. And I've been able to now, in my role, I try to, we pray after every practice, every game, and I try to, teach, our guys in a way of there's more than just, than us. And in the game of football, there's a bigger picture to everything that we do in life. And I don't try to push it on them in the sense of I force them. We pray after every practice, and I tell those guys if they ever want to talk or interested in any of that, I'm free to talk too. And we have FCA guys that come in and they work with our guys, 2 to 3 times a month sometimes, and it's huge. You know what I mean? And I have a 5-year-old and a 19-month. You probably hear him running around in the background here, but we just got them baptized a couple weeks ago, and it's about what it's about in life. Having a purpose of love and passion, and being able to help lead and spread the word. And it's all about just the truth and being honest. And it's a big part of my life, and I try to give my guys a piece of that, because I know a lot of those guys were, some of the kids we have, they've probably never been around any of the religious side or faith side of things. And I just want to kind of give them a piece of that, to know that, you're never alone, and you always have support, and, you always have love. And that's the biggest thing that I try to teach my guys, is that, if you do the right things, and you continue to keep your eyes focused on the man above, good things are going to happen. And that's been a big part of our success. I think even at Iowa Western, where we try to focus on doing things the right way, and helping people out, and just guiding them in a direction that represents and showcase Jesus Christ.
Man, Couldn't say it any better. Couldn't end on anything better than that right there. And so, I say this, Coach, and with all authenticity, that part of the reason I do this podcast, I want to answer questions for parents and recruits, and sure, I want to have viewers and followers because it's interesting.
Yeah.
But I also do it because I would love for parents and families to be able to sit down and say, these are some of the men that I would love for my children to play for. Like, I mean, I look at that even from my own personal perspective. I have a 7-year-old son, and I look some of these guys and people like you and some of the other guests I've had on. I think that's who I would want my child to play for. Those are the type of guys, like, if I'm going to send them off to school and they're going to play college football, hey, I want somebody that's speaking truth into their life every day. And I appreciate you being authentic on here about that.
No, absolutely. And that's what it's about, and that's for me, in this recruiting process, I know how it works. There's both sides. There's two sides to it too. There's guys there's coaches that will tell kids what they want to hear, and parents what they want to hear. And then they get there and it's nothing what they thought it was going to be. I'm always about being open and honest, and and that's just part of what I believe in, and obviously with having faith and driven off of that's kind of how I lead and how I try to be compassionate with my players, is and help kind of correct any of the behaviors that they have and need the change to try to help them be successful.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thanks so much for being on today. We wish you nothing but the best and look to hear big things from you in the future, Coach.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you having me, and best of luck with everything. And if you need anything, or even if your players or parents have any questions, have them reach out at any time.
Yep, his Twitter handle is right here on the screen. You guys can follow him and direct message him because he got back quick. So if you have any of those, let him know. But thanks again for listening, everyone. Like, subscribe. That helps us out to continue to do more interviews with more coaches and players. But again, thanks so much, and God bless everyone.